All right, so the next major cycle that we're going to be talking about is the nitrogen cycle. And we're just going to summarize it with a few points of importance as we go through. So the nitrogen cycle makes up 78% of the atmosphere, so that's just a little bit over 3/4 of the atmosphere. So a lot of the nitrogen in the atmosphere, a lot of the nitrogen in the earth can be found in the atmosphere. All right, it's also used in proteins, DNA, and RNA in our bodies. So similar to the phosphorus cycle that we just talked about, right? It's found in DNA and RNA, right? It's also going to be found in proteins, right? Which you'll learn a whole lot more about next year as well, right? Of that 78% that is found in the atmosphere, all right, it must be fixed before it can be used by different organisms, all right? So it can't be used in this N2 nitrogen gas phase, all right? It has to be converted into nitrate before it can be used by different organisms. All right, so the three kind of ways that it can do that, can be fixed, is through lightning, natural bacteria, nitrifying bacteria that are found in the top layer of the soil, right, and human technology. We have now found a way to kind of fix that nitrogen on our own, which has increased the rate at which we can do that. All right, lightning is needed because it's a high level of energy that kind of separates this bond. So when you have N2, it's going to be nitrogen triple bonded to another nitrogen molecule. So you need a high level of energy in order to break that bond since it's triple bonded, right? And that's where lightning comes into play, all right? The bacteria can do that naturally through their normal life processes, right? And then we have found our own way to do that in order to get extra nitrogen from the atmosphere, all right? Legumes are the other way, right? They help take ammonia and turn it into nitrate, all right? So a legume is a specific type of plant, all right? And what it does is it takes that nitrogen gas, all right, converts it into ammonia or ammonium, all right, before it turns it into a nitrate, which then can be used by all types of plants. Legumes are the only type of plants that can do this to our knowledge at this point, all right? So most plants take in this nitrate, all right? The legumes can kind of take in the N2, all right, and break it down into ammonia, which can then turn into a nitrate over time. All right, peanuts, soybeans, clover, and alfalfa are the different examples of legume plants. All right, so peanuts, soybeans, clover. You probably definitely have seen peanuts, maybe seen soybeans. Clover is usually a weed that we'd like to pull out of our gardens, right? And alfalfa is another kind of wildflower there for you. All right, the human impacts of the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen fixation has been doubled since 1950, so we have found different ways to do this, and we have found more efficient ways to do it, so we can actually double our efficiency since 1950 when we first started figuring out how to do that. All right, so nitrogen has been fixed at a much higher rate than it did. All right, fertilizers contain nitrogen, so it's important that if plants are able to take in this nitrate, all right, that we are feeding them with more nitrogen. All right, so we have been converting it at a faster rate so that we can produce fertilizer so then you can sell it, right, and help plants grow at a much faster and healthier rate. All right, and the last way is that burning fossil fuels also releases nitrogen at times. All right, so we are then putting more nitrogen back into the atmosphere when we burn our fossil fuels. All right, so here's the picture of the nitrogen cycle. All right, it's best to start where most of your nitrogen is found, which is going to be in the atmosphere. All right, so as you can see, it shows the fixation by lightning, fixation by organisms, which we talked about would be your nitrifying bacteria. All right, and then it's going to come into soil of organic matter, which then we're going to have ammonia, all right, like we talked about earlier, all right, which can be converted to ammonium before it's converted to nitrate. All right, once it's nitrate, that's when it can be used by plants. All right, so then the plants are going to take it in, right, and it kind of has the same process in the consumer cycle as the phosphorus does. So it gets taken in by plants, then consumers can then take that in, all right, until they decompose, which then it returns back to the soil. All right, the other way that consumers kind of get nitrogen is through water. All right, so we have emissions here being released by industry. Like I said, the burning of the fossil fuels releases it at times, all right, which then can put it back into the system or back into the atmosphere. All right, and this is kind of like an example. If they took a piece of the ocean and they blew it up, all right, this is how the decomposer producer cycle would happen in water, right, rather than on land like we did over here. All right, so that is our nitrogen cycle, short and sweet. All right, you guys are going to have more time to work with this one as well. I will post this on Google Classroom for you.